Why would I tell you my budget? Aren't you just going to charge me as much as you possibly can and deliver the least amount of value? These are just a few of the questions that I can see going through the minds of potential clients when I ask them, what is your budget? Isn't money one of those things you're not even supposed to talk about at the dinner table or with family? Truth be told, I have used to avoid this question at all costs. It was one of those things that I felt just dampen the mood, and who ultimately wants to be that person anyway? My name is Kellen with Land Water Light, where we help luxury homeowners achieve resort-style living. In this video, we're going to discuss project and design costs and why they are so important early in the process to make sure that not only the final result is exactly in line with what our clients are looking for, but to make sure we have open communication throughout the entire process. So let's talk money. What does a project cost anyway? That's a tricky question. Bigger properties, higher detail, all of those things drastically impact how costs can multiply over a project. But one thing I can say is having a realistic budget, or at least a budget expectation early in the project, allows our team on the design end to start to try to shape our budgets to meet your goals. Now, this can be tricky sometimes because as that design process goes, typically clients get excited and things start getting added. And that's why we really have a early and often approach with how we look at budgets. Budget is one of the first things I ask in our introductory call. Budget's one of the first things I ask again in the consultation call. We want to get a feel for kind of what that expectation is. Is there a pain point? Is there a threshold that's comfortable or not comfortable? Or, what is the prioritization? Is it cost sensitive, or are we just looking for the ability to create amazing space together? So early and often is how we want to look at money in this process, just because at the end of the day, we want to be able to build this project and under promise and over deliver on every aspect, which can be hard when that budget number is in flux. And one thing I can say with us, quality is expensive. So we are not the budget contractor. We are not just kind of production based to where we're getting the project barely kind of at the minimum requirements to be good. And we're always looking for best practices and materials throughout. That can be everything from fixtures to labor to plant material to plant sizing. Everything comes into play with creating a quality landscape, which has a ticket cost to it. So that's one thing to kind of think about as we're creating these spaces. If we have a luxury home that we are trying to create a landscape that matches that, having the outdoor amenities match and styling quality is just critical to making the whole thing feel comprehensive. If we have specialty stone on the house, typically we're going to want to draw that back into the landscape to make sure it all looks just beautiful and well curated. On that note, details are everything. Details can make the difference between a $500,000 project and a $2.5 million project. Details between materials, methods, tile, anything as far as technology, all of those things have a lot to do with budget, and it's why we want to talk about that through the process. If we're heading towards a trajectory that just doesn't fit or is uncomfortable, we have to have that conversation early. Now, on our end, we typically won't sacrifice quality for pricing, but there are things we can do in the design phase to really kind of shape that a little bit and consult and kind of be an advocate to making sure that everybody's in alignment. And when we get to the construction, we don't have that kind of stressful conversation about how, we're going to be 30% over expectations. On that note, value engineering in our perspective just kills value. Yes, it reduces the price, but when you take a high quality design, it can be difficult, if not impossible, to start removing pieces of that design and still keep it comprehensive. I tell our clients and consultants all the time that the way I look at a well thought out, well structured design is by, can you remove pieces and have that design still stand up? And typically when you start removing pieces, the flow patterns change or the overall look and balance changes, and that becomes really difficult to do. So essentially, we would really prefer to make sure that this budget is talked about early and through the design phase, so that way that design is targeting a particular budget rather than going over and then trying to peel things off. Big ticket items are kind of the thing that can throw different projects into flux. So your swimming pool, for instance, there are numerous features that can shift that budget. Everything from high-end UV and ozone systems, in-floor cleaning, big water features, slides, all of those things are big ticket items. Audio, lighting, heavy construction, terracing type work, those are all big ticket items. So you can pretty much anticipate, as you have sloped lots or you want a large amount of kind of an AV side or pools or water features, that those are all going to be big ticket items. One of the number one factors that we see that impact price on a project is really the size and scale of the land. That sounds really basic, but sometimes you can have a small space with a lot of detail and still stay within a certain budget. Once you get to the bigger scale and you still want to keep that detail, all of your volumes increase, and it just takes a lot more capital to essentially build out these big spaces and keep that quality intact. Now, people talk to me about, do you work on projects with no budgets? Yes, and we call those unicorn projects. They're not common. They're actually somewhat fanciful, but occasionally there are projects where it's really about value and the creation of the space, and budget is really secondary. I will say they're very rare, even on really high-end luxury homes. Not having a budget is a very rare part of what we do. So if someone typically comes to me and says, yeah, I don't really have a budget, or that's not a priority, I will actually keep asking him that question as this thing goes on to make sure that there's full transparency and communication going on, just to make sure that we can deliver exactly what we promised and make sure that project is incredible, and really that the client is comfortable from start to finish, and we have an amazing relationship as the whole process goes on. Now, that wasn't so uncomfortable now, was it? We do understand that sometimes potential clients just don't know what to expect when it comes down to budget. Maybe they haven't done a project like this before, or to that scale, or maybe there's some unique details that they just can't get a feel for expectations. Don't worry, that is part of the reason why our process has been developed, is to help educate and consult throughout each step. And our initial introductory call, we can start to have this discussion, and especially as we move into an on-site consultation a little bit later on, we can keep having these sort of discussions and make sure expectations are aligned with these sorts of projects. If you haven't gotten our starting guide, click the link in our banner or on this video, and we will email you our exclusive starting guide, which shows some pictures of some projects that we have done before, as well as their kind of approximate budgets in today's costing, to kind of get a feel and help you understand, really what it takes to develop some of these projects. Now, I will say budgets and details are everything, and they're highly linked. So each little detail really can impact that final result. If you sign up to schedule with Nancy, we can have that initial consultation call. There's a link on the bottom of that starting guide, as well as in the banner, and we can start having that conversation to really get a feel for what this project is and help you get excited, because ultimately that's our goal, is to really get you excited about creating your own resort style living lifestyle. We will have more videos on our YouTube channel, so please take a look around and subscribe. I'll see you there.